Early into my career, I was diagnosed, maybe 5 years in, I was diagnosed with PTSD, and I thought it was going to be, I went to therapy and I did things and I did what I thought I needed to do to build resiliency, was the word I used. You know, just get used to it, essentially, and learn how to manage the flashbacks, learn how to manage the nightmares. And I had been very unlucky in my career that I've seen things that you cannot unsee. And I learned enough about myself to figure out my triggers. You know, everyone has different ones, but mine were when someone hurt a kid. It really, really affected me, and it burned pretty deeply into my brain. And I struggled with it. I'd be at dinner with friends and somebody would say something minor, but it would be a word that would trigger me and send me back to that room. And with my PTSD, the way it worked, it was almost like it was burned in my occipital lobe. Like it's like I would have a room superimposed over the room I'm in. I'm in a bar with friends having a great time, then all of a sudden I can see a pink teddy bear on a dresser and another teddy bear over here, and I just stare because I don't want to look right here, because I know what's in between is a horse show and I don't want to see it, and I get real quiet and I glaze over and everyone knows what's happening to me. And it would happen, not often, but it happened several times a year. The same thing with the nightmares. Just out of the blue, it'd sneak attack me. I'd get a nightmare out of nowhere, and I just thought it was something I was going to have to deal with my whole life, and it was going to be. It's just how it is now, and it's the price that has to be paid for what I chose to do. You know, somebody has to see those things. And I'm just gonna have to deal with it. Was the thought. I know a lot of military personnel feel the same way, and police, and other firemen, and we just don't talk about it. And there's a stigma that comes with it that's weak, and like, you should be tougher, or I don't have any problem with that stuff. That stuff doesn't bother me, and you have these macho attitudes. And I think it's all lies. I think it affects people different ways. I think I wasn't even aware of my anger slowly bubbling up and becoming more and more and more prevalent. And I was more upset, more angry with the world because of what I'd seen and what I'd been through. And I was well aware of how unfair and unjust the world can be. It started to affect my marriage, and my wife very kindly told me, used my own words against me, and said that you always said you'd do anything for me. I want you to try EMDR therapy. I looked at her with a blank stare, and fine, whatever. I thought about it more and decided, well, if I'm going to do therapy, I'm going to do it right. I'm going to put some real effort into it. It's important to her. I don't want to, but she's concerned, so at least I can say I tried. And that was my attitude, because I'd tried therapy before and it didn't really work. So I found what was supposed to be a pretty good one, and I walked in and I knew nothing. I knew there was a light that you're supposed to look at. It's supposed to do something, and they don't really understand it. And I sat down and I looked at the light, and she asked me what's one of my strongest memories, and just asking me that triggered a flashback. So I'm having a flashback. I'm in the room, and I can see everything, and I'm trying to stare at this light going back and forth, and I'm going through this horrible memory and crying. And I finish, and I'm exhausted, and I feel nauseous, and I go home and I throw up, and I lay down and I sleep for 3 hours, and I feel horrible. And when I get up, I'm looking at my guitar, and I'm thinking, and journaling is one of my tools that I've learned from previous attempts to manage PTSD, and I just started writing a song. And I've never sat down and written a song out in 5 minutes. That's not my process. I have to work pretty hard at it. I have to, like, I'll get a line or I'll get a melody, and here, there, it's just kind of all over the place. But this one, just start to finish, it felt like it wrote itself. And it starts off all the macho stuff. It starts off with, you know, I'm tough, I've been burned, I've been through it, I've seen some stuff, I risk my life, I do all these things. And then the second part is actually the harder part, is admitting that I'm hurting and admitting that I need help. And that was pretty hard to do. Because I felt there was something different with the EMDR. So, for the record, if you haven't tried EMDR, they really don't even completely understand how it works. But the success rate is really, really high, and as somebody who's been through it, it's almost as if, the best way it was explained to me, and it makes sense having been through it, is you have these traumatic memories, and they're so strong that your brain burns files, every lobe of your brain. So even your occipital, which is supposed to be responsible for vision, has this memory burned in your brain. And you know, short-term memory, long-term memory, all have copies of it, so it comes up accidentally all the time. And that's why you remember it with so much detail, and you remember the smells and the color, you remember everything. And by looking at the stupid light, it seems to at least delete a couple of the files out of places where they're not supposed to be. Something about going back and forth with your eyes seems to trick your brain into erasing it. And you still remember it, it still happened, it's still horrible, but it doesn't seem to come up out of nowhere. And it's been almost a year, and I haven't had a single nightmare and or flashback. And I wrote what I think is a pretty beautiful song about it, and I hope if anybody gets anything from this video, I hope they decide to look up EMDR and find a therapist and try it. Because you got nothing to lose, really, other than 3 days of a headache and nausea. So this song is called Price is Paid. It's the realization that my trauma isn't just something that I carry. It isn't just something that is my burden alone, that my family pays the price for this, that my kids pay the price for my anger being out of control because of my trauma. My wife pays a price for all of this. And if anything, it was a love song to her. Thank you for supporting me through all this, because it wasn't easy. welcome. Kick down doors. I risk my life. I risk some more. Walk the edge of the night. Places I've been, where I've had to be. Things I've done, things I can unsee. Why can't these dreams just leave me be? The price was paid, but not just mine. Admitting my pain makes me feel weak. I don't know how to fight the healing I see. I wear all these scars and I try to move on. I can't do it myself. I won't get very far. I can't do it myself. I won't get very far. Places I've been, where I've had to be. Things I've done, things I cannot see. Why can't these dreams leave me be? Rise to speed, but not just mine. Not just by me. Trust me. But not just by me. So I'm gonna put this out there and hope that it finds somebody that needs it.